I think I'll get to this array. Africa is a young continent, without any debate about that. Over 70% of the continent is below the age of 30. And this array, you are a youth advocate from Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is notable for its lithium reserves in the continent today. Actually, the highest, I think, is the sixth in the entire world. And given the fact that youth, this is a young continent, that means that Africa as a continent is a youthful continent. And if it is a youthful continent, what is the place and space of youth in this debate?
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity of giving young people to speak. Well, in relation to your question, I believe the space of the youth is very vast because there are many constraints that are considered when it comes to the issue of critical minerals and metals, and that is why, as young people, we keep emphasizing the fact of strategically investing in education and skills. Even that includes skills development and health infrastructure for young people. And it's actually a very crucial factor because in Africa, we are, as most of the countries are at the third stage of the demographic transition model. That means we are not yet that economically developed. So at the end of the day, transitioning to green energy will be needing a lot of factors to be put into consideration. And the first factor is make sure that we utilize the minerals that we have in our own countries for our own development. There was a doctor who was speaking today, and he was saying that minerals in Africa must be developed to use Africa, must be used to develop Africa, not like we take the critical minerals and use them to develop somewhere else. So we believe that with the transition to renewable energy, it can be able to create up to 42 million jobs by 2050. But the problem is that careers for young people, are limited, especially when it comes to green transition to renewable energy, because these companies that are investing in fossil fuels, they are coming in with a lot of attractive incentives, and it also includes education costs. So at the end of the day, they are not investing these fossil fuels in their countries; they're bringing it here in Africa. At the end of the day, we as young people were suffering, from the consequences of fossil fuel investment. That is why, in conclusion, with that, we're saying we must have representation in all seats like these ones, so that when these policies and when these deals are negotiated, we also have a say in them, because there's a lot of untapped energy amongst young people in the issue of renewable
The
energy.
policymaker is listening to you at the moment, representing the voices of the youth across the continent as you speak here today. What message will you give them? You've highlighted the aspect of skills retooling, which is very, very important. Do you think that this is prioritized in the space of ensuring that young people have their space and place in this debate at the moment? Briefly, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, sure. I don't. We are being included in these spaces, but we have not reached the level in which we can actually actively participate in, influencing policies that will bring meaningful participation. Because as I have said, the attractive incentives that have been given to young people are lowering them into doing things that they're going to regret later. So that is why we're saying if we reach that stage where we prioritize meaningful, engagement and support for young people, especially those who are, disproportionate. But at the end of the day, not leading to child labor, which was being talked about. I
Yes.
think that would be a very good thing to consider.